Welcome to this video for round 5 coverage of the candidates tournament, and this is a game between Dimitri Andreikin and Vishy Anand playing black. Yeah, and it's of course a matchup of two players with very different tournament, while Anand being in really bad shape before the tournament, started brilliantly with 2 wins, and he's in a really good position in the tournament. And Andreikin, bit of an outsider, not really a favorite, but I had him on my list of possible dark horses, and he just lost 2 games, and does not really seem to be in great shape. So what is Vishy going to do? Is he going to do something extraordinary to beat Andreikin with black? Let's see what happens. Okay, no Sicilian. This Vishy mostly plays e5 and c5, so you don't know. Let's see. And it's the Berlin, and I must say, unfortunately, well, this is a great practical opening in tournament chess for black. I really think so. I mean, you have very, very good chances to equalize the game, and compared to many other lines, you really have a somewhat easy life in lots of lines. It's for the commentator and spectator quite often not so exciting, simply. What is Andreikin's move here? He played d3, simply covering the e4 pawn. It seems that the endgame is less and less popular. I mean, what I'm talking about is, of course, this. The endgame variation. Classical
Check.
Berlin Wall endgame. Yeah, this is not so much seen nowadays. White players really seem to get nowhere in the endgame, and this is why they look for alternative routes. Andreikin playing d3. This is a bit of a you can speculate what Andreikin's idea about this game is. Does he want to just play a draw? Does he want to get a prolonged fight? d3 is a bit of a middle-of-the-road approach. It still keeps pieces on the board. If you want to just draw the game, just to be a cynic about that, castling knight e4, rook e1, and I don't really see black playing for a win ever in this type of structure. We have seen this in the World Championship match as well. So d3 played. Anand plays bishop c5. Just probably the best move in the position, developing the bishop actively. And now Andreikin took on c6. This has been also played by Carlsen recently. Very technical type of move, getting to a somewhat defined pawn structure, and very often play evolves around those kind of pawn breaks like f4. But Andreikin is not going for that type of strategy. He plays bishop e3, offering a further trade. Here Arnold actually plays a somewhat rarer move. Surprisingly, I was surprised to see that. He played bishop takes e3, and this is actually less... Oops. I keep pressing this button. Bishop e3. The capture is actually less popular than bishop to d6. This has been seen far more often, with black keeping the bishop pair for the time being. But the bishop pair is nice to have, but the bishops are not that brilliant in this structure anyway. It's very closed, and I think that bishop takes e3 is a very decent alternative. White captured, and black played queen e7 to keep e5 protected. About the e5 pawn, I'm just showing it again. After this, white cannot take because of queen d4, and he will lose material. Knight is attacked and mate on f2. Okay, here now Vishy must protect the pawn. He played queen e7, castles, and queen e1. That's actually an interesting move. I mean, it's a very early queen move. It has some points. White is toying with two ideas. He can switch the queen over and maybe use the f-file. It's not like it's a quick kingside attack with a quick mate, but yeah, you can shift your attention to the king side, or the queen, like after knight e8 from black. Good move, I think. The queen can go over here to c3 to attack the pawn and initiate some play on the queen side. This is in fact what Andreikin is going for. Queen c3, f6, yeah, e5 was hanging, and now b4. Yeah, he wants to gain space on the queen side. Yeah, ideas like that might come into play. The knight over to c5 or c4 at the right moment. And yeah, it's a decent plan. Knight d6, very understandable. The knight needs to get back into play, and it's a good position on d6, I believe. It keeps some pressure on e4, so that d4 is not easily playable. It looks at b5, so that this kind of attack is not so simple. And it has a look at f5, which really discourages any ideas like knight h4 to f5. I mean, this does not really fit with the queen position anyway, but it's a good position on d6 for the knight. It's not a very common position in this structure, but it seems like a good one. Yeah, Andreikin playing a4. Yeah, to discuss this position a bit, what is the general strategy that both players can go for? The thing is, I believe it's quite tricky in this position to do anything constructive on your own. It's really not easy. Look at the pawn structure. We have all pawns are still on the board, and therefore it is a relatively closed position with those half-opened files, the D file and the F file. But there is not much happening on those files. What is the great idea there? Very difficult to get anything on those. So what is left in the position? Pawn breaks. Yeah, as mentioned, d4 is tricky to play as it weakens e4 so much. Yeah, b5 is an idea that white can go for, and in fact he has played a4 to maybe support that. But black has this grip on b5, so this is not easily played as well. And yeah, white has a hard time to do anything here. And unfortunately for the spectator, the same applies for black. Black also does not really have great pawn breaks. f5 hangs the e5 pawn, and on the queen side, I mean, white is just a bit stronger on the queen side, so you don't have any way to do something there. And if you cannot use pawn breaks in the position, you won't make any substantial progress. It's really a game that that both players need to play of. Just stay solid, stay flexible, and if the other side is sort of blinking, you need to be ready to punish a possible mistake. We see that both players complete development. b6 is a move that controls c5 and a5 for the moment. If white now is not if white now is not alert, he played a5, the right move, I guess. If white is playing a move like a nothing move, yeah, just to show it, then black would have a5. Yeah, it's easy to see that white needs to attend to this positional threat, but still it's a little threat. As a5, why is it a threat? Yeah, now white has no way to keep his pawn structure clean. He needs to probably take. Otherwise, black will take and play c5 to expose a4 as a weakness. And after the capture, I mean, okay, probably even this is going to end in some simplification, but it's certainly nothing that white has dreamt about before. Okay, he played a5 himself. This is logical anyway, as you might open up the a file for your rook. Yeah, and Anand plays an interesting move. King h8 to wait, and after rook a2 he plays rook a b8. And this is a slight, it's a little bit of a slight provocation, simply because, yeah, it gives up the a file, and it's not clear what black is getting in return. However, what we see in the game after the capture and further, there was some maneuvering here. White got to a7 later and really didn't gain much. I need to talk about this for a moment. White played queen a1, sort of preparing this and looking at the a8 square so that rook a8 is not playable. After queen a1, Anand played knight b7. This prepares the c5 move. Black likes to get rid of his double pawn. Yeah, queen c3 back. And here Anand could have played knight d6, just repeating the position. Yeah, for a possible draw. Note that they cannot draw the game due to rules before move 30. So the only way to make a draw before that really is a perpetual check or a repetition. And here they could have gone, or Vichy could have gone for this type of repetition. You never know if Andreikin would have played on and just... but queen c3 is a bit of a signal, okay, I don't mind a draw here. So what did Anand do? Played c5, so fighting on, not repeating. And after takes, he took with the knight on c5. So the knight now is on c5 instead of d6, but it still has this useful pressure to prevent any action in the center. Yeah, rook a7 was played, and now rook f to c8. And now we see that this rook to b8, which allowed white to enter on a7, yeah, it has given white this active rook, but how much does it really mean in terms of concrete progress? It's hard to say. Black has this easily covered, the c-pawn, and it's not clear what white really has achieved. He played rook here, and now Anand played b5, which is an interesting move, really. This sort of forces a commitment by white. Yeah, the thing is, if you play a nothing move, I'll just use this king h1 again. You need to reckon with the idea to put the knight on a4, and this would actually disconnect both rooks. The knight on a4 is somewhat disturbing the harmony behind white's pieces. If you look at a position like that, black might go here and play rook a8 and maybe queen c5. This starts to get a little bit uncomfortable. I'm not saying that black is largely better or anything, but black has made some progress with the knight on a4, as strange as it looks. But it helps to, as mentioned, disturb white's coordination a bit. So I think Andreikin needs to be careful here, and the king h1 is obviously nonsense. He needs to do something concrete and circumspect here. He played d4. I think actually that queen b4 is the easier move to just keep it completely simple. It forces black's reply. White is building up this pin with the idea of playing knight b3, winning material. So black must react to that. Queen d6 is the only good move here. Queen f8 in comparison is not good because of d4. Yeah, we can see that after queen d6. Queen d6. If white now plays d4, black has this tactical idea. It's not just winning a pawn because white will get e5 back, but this is the idea to meet d4. What white can do, though, he can play a move like knight b3, and after takes, I think this should be quite okay for white. I mean, you cannot hope for anything in terms of an edge, but with the a file under your control, you're certainly never going to be worse here. I think this is actually somewhat simpler than what Andreikin played. He played d4, yeah, not allowing this development that I mentioned before with knight a4 disturbing white's coordination. Yeah, here Anand took on d4 and took on e4. This is, I think, just the best way to go about it. He just took the offered pawn. It's not a permanent win of material because after the trade, Andreikin took on c7. This is obviously what he had calculated before. And well, how to assess this position? It's probably about equal with very precise play by white. It's a bit uncomfortable already. I think that the queen b4 move was easier, but okay, let's see what happens now. Anand is now playing bishop to f5. Makes much sense, yeah, putting pressure on c2. And Andreikin went for rook a to a7, yeah, doubling on the 7th, a very sensible move. Yeah, note that black's position has one serious drawback and tactical problem. This is the back rank, and this is the explanation for the move h6. It's a very human move to play. In fact, here Anand had an alternative, and maybe this was a more testing way to play, but it's not easy for a human to do. You really want your luft for the king. Yeah, queen c2 is an interesting way to go. After the trade, black is a pawn up for the moment, and the interesting thing here is that the normal looking move rook takes g7 is leading to some problems after b4. Black has this excellent bishop that covers the h7 pawn, and yeah, the b pawn, it is very dangerous. I mean, white must do something like that and fight on from there, but it's tricky to play, really. There are ideas. Black can try rook a8 here, for example. Look at this. And now the capture is of course not possible. Black can just take on b3, the rook on g7 hangs. So it's this is tricky, and the cleanest way for white here is actually not to take on g7, but to play the somewhat strange looking move rook a to b7. Yeah, the idea is simply taking on c8, taking on b5, take here. Yeah, that's the idea. And black only has this type of move to keep the pawn for the moment. And after that, in fact, the king approach here to e3 will probably lead to a draw anyway. But this is not easy to find, rook a to b7. I mean, okay, it's not rocket science, and Andreikin had some time, but maybe this was an interesting way to try. Anand played h6, and this is in fact very human, of course, and this type of move can often be more dangerous for the opponent than a forcing move, because especially when time gets low, this is not a factor yet, Andreikin has 27 minutes, but if time gets low, it's sometimes better to play a non-forcing move and actually give the opponent many possibilities to consider than play a forcing move that after which he only needs to find the only reply possible. So h6 is maybe a good idea, just from a practical point of view, to let white make moves and try to benefit from not so accurate play. Played queen d2. Yeah, queen on c3 retreated, possibly also covering this, of course. Yeah, rook c7, and bishop g4. Yeah, the knight on f3 is not too well placed. Black is intending to capture it. And yeah, black has a slight initiative with the more active pieces. I think the next moves are pretty solid and normal. Rook c3 to maybe take with the rook. b4 was played, rook e3, and queen back to d5. So we see that black has this activity. He's got a good queen on d5, and he has the c pawn to attack. On the other hand, b4 is also not particularly strong. It can easily fall if black decides to activate the rook, and he needs the rook in the upcoming piece play to get anywhere. So h3 was played, bishop f5, of course keeping pieces on the board, keeping the pressure on. Yeah, now Andreikin rook b3 to attack b4. here queen c4 was played. Yeah, you can also look at rook c8 here, which I did after the capture by the queen. Black will get this back, and yeah, at first it looks quite comfortable for black, but it seems that queen b7 here just trades enough material to secure the draw. White still has this slightly weak pawn, but it's not a big issue. Yeah, I played queen c4, just keeping b4 protected and get the attack on the c pawn. Rook b2, not a happy move, but cannot give up c2, and bishop e4. Yeah, we see that Anand is really making progress here. He has taken over in this game quite clearly. King f2, and now he took on f3, which I think is okay. It was not necessary to do it. You can also just keep the pieces on the board, play strengthening moves, but I think it was a good decision. And now it's actually critical. It seems that g takes f is not such a bad move, but it's not a move that you really like to make as a human player, damaging your pawn structure in the long run. All four pawns look weak. No? Of course, before, as mentioned, there is a counter attack on that, but still it does not feel so great here, this position. He played king takes, and maybe gf was actually better. I don't know. After king takes, here Anand played a rook b5, which I believe yeah, is not accurate. Queen f1 check, it seems, was more testing. After that, white really must be very careful to defend. What is the point? The check now, I mean, the king is obviously exposed. If white plays queen f2, let's start with that to block the check. There is this move, and that is very annoying now, attacking the rook and keeping this attacked. So what should white do? If you go here, there's a rook c8, and you have the attack on the c pawn. White takes, rook takes, and this will get very ugly. The queen does not really have a good square also. Black is just winning here. So you cannot play the queen really to f2. Very tricky. And after that, there is rook e8, intending rook e2. And white now is in full defense mode, and as normal, it's tricky to do, to just defend. Yeah, against this rook e2, he probably should play c4. Probably c4. And now yeah, there's more than one good idea that black can try. He can try to push b3 here, as white cannot take, again because of rook e2. Black can also try to get the f-pawn involved at some stage, or rook e4. The combination of white's somewhat shaky king, the b-pawn, and those weak pawns on c4 and d4 really give black some substantial winning chances, I believe. If you take, this is also something to consider. However, it's not so clear what black's next move is. You want the b-pawn to distract white. So maybe after c4, this really b3 is the interesting way to go. Yeah. Queen c3 maybe. No, that's f5. Intending also f4.
Check.
Now this
check. Check.
However, is a draw. Yeah, I believe that still that is what Anand should have tried. The queen check here. From a practical point of view, it's very tricky to defend for white. He played rook b5, obviously intending something similar, but the problem is white has a good defense, just one defense, but it's sufficient. He played queen d3, and this seems to save the issue. Okay, I'm not saying that the other move would have won, queen f1 check, but after queen d3, the worst is definitely over. The problem is that yeah, this rook is just hanging if the queen moves away, and the only way to keep stuff on the board is like that. Then king f2, white will be able to get back, and in this position, for instance, there's even a threat of playing c4. So it's really some progress that white made. The black heavy pieces are simply not that active. Yeah, in the game, Anand exchanged queens, not quickly, because it's basically acknowledging that this will be a draw. Takes, and now black approaches, the king approaches to the center with the king, but white is just too active. He tossed the d-pawn right away to activate. Black could have taken it. It's yeah, but white plays just king here to attack it, and if black tries to keep, you get over and will get the b pawn later. It's just white is playing with an extra king now. The active king is now helpful in the rook endgame. There is nothing to do here. Anand played his king to the center, and here after that
check, check,
here they agree to a draw. Yeah, white will always get this pawn back, and there's no progress to be made anywhere. Yeah, a draw. Maybe Anand had slight chances with queen f1. It's hard to tell if this was anything substantial, or if he would have had serious winning chances. Yeah, very, very difficult. I mean, I don't want to make a super long video on that. So maybe this was the way to try to set more problems. So the queen to f1 here instead of this rook b5 move. Okay, a draw. Not a brilliant result for both players, but certainly a decent one. You need to keep in mind, if you expect, I don't know, some heavy assault from black here in this game, Anand has +2. He's got 2 wins in his bag already, and he has a win against Aronian, which is very important for any tiebreak. So in case of Anand and Aronian finishing on equal points, he has a win in the bag, and the first tiebreak is the direct result against each other. So unless Aronian is beating Anand in the second half of the tournament, he will have the better tiebreak against Aronian. So just assume they play a draw in their second game, and other than that they finish on the same points. Anand is the one to qualify because he has this win from round 1. So he's in a really comfortable position with the +2. And I mean, last year +3 was sufficient to qualify. So it is a perfectly acceptable strategy now for him to play solidly and hope to get those 2, let's say 2 points. +4 is excellent. Not losing against one of his main rivals, and it's perfectly okay. You don't need to do anything too fancy here. And he got some chances even with this relatively quiet opening, so nothing to heavily criticize here, I believe. All right, I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching.